So in this video, you are going to learn from 7 top life insurance agents in the industry. At Legacy Family Life, these 7 agents sold over $40,000 of final expense life insurance. And we even have 2 producers that sold over 50 policies and over $50,000 of final expense life insurance. And they are going to share with you transparently, number one, all the results so you can see we're not lying. And then secondly, they're going to share, we're going to have an open discussion on what makes a successful agent, how to sell $40,000 in a month, what type of leads you need, what type of script do you need, what type of accountability, coachability do you need to be a successful agent. And I promise you, if you watch this video, you will have a wealth of knowledge on how you can succeed as a life insurance agent in 2025. Hope you enjoy. Let's jump in.
Cool. Well, just from, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what is it? 7 people here, 2, 4, 6, 7, $315,000 of production just in this small group. We had 2 others that do over 40K. So I want to start us off by, let's see who here had the highest level of improvement. So December numbers to January, who was the most improved agent? Anybody?
I mean, you got to throw Mason in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Mason.
Yeah, Mason, new agent.
Mason, what did you do in December?
Let me take a look here. So December, that was my first month as a new agent. I did 14,500 in annual premiums.
Okay.
That was
Come on now.
16 sales. 14. January we did 41,042 sales. So.
God,
Here,
Mason, y'all take the show. We're out of here.
Cool, Chad. You're kind of close too. Chad, what was your rate of growth? Was it as impactful?
I wasn't. This is on me. I wasn't tracking AP for the months prior to this month. But I did 33 sales last month in December, and I jumped up to 48 sales this month. And I think I was right around about 32,000 in total AP for the month. So it's I'd say about 13,000 difference from there.
Awesome. Well, great job, Chad. That's huge. I want to start us with Mason, and then we'll all kind of collaborate too. As we're new agents who might just be getting started, we all had this weird moment in our journey. We're all kind of starting off either we're never agents or worked at other agents. Mason, you can take us home and we can all collaborate. What was the one light bulb moment? They're like, oh snap, I kind of get it now. What was that one? Was it a certain sale? Was it a specific call, or when did you start feeling man, this pieces are coming together to have such growth like that?
Yes, slowly. It kind of came together slowly over December. It kind of started as a ball of clay, and working with Josh and working with you, starting to develop sales techniques and strategies like mirroring and tonality was just something I never even knew existed before. So really learning that the first month as a new agent. And then when I made that move to senior agent, I was able to be working with great people. 3 of them here on my team. I'm not rocking my cool background right now, but you guys really pushed me. I learned a lot. Whenever Blaze, Christian, or Colby unmutes, there's something I'm picking up that I'm adding, to my tool belt that is always just refining. Just lots of reps and being around really, iron sharpens iron, being around incredible salespeople every day. It's hard to not, learn every day.
Thanks for sharing. What do you guys think too about how important it is to see someone who's gotten your results? Has anybody been at a company before where they're there's no one that's actually doing high numbers or getting the results that I'm looking for? What do you think? Why do you think that's so important in sales environment? And it's kind of open floor. So just as you're thinking through sales, why do you think that's so important when it comes to someone's sales career, of having someone that's going to support you, but also people that you guys can go after? Why is that so important for you guys?
Man. Yeah, that's I'd say the most important part. I think that's a big part of our team, of what we do. We competing with each other. When you see somebody, Micah made a good point a few meetings ago. He said, you put somebody on a baseline for basketball, they're going to run up and down the court really fast. But you put somebody next to them, and they're going to be sprinting out of breath faster than ever. So, I think that iron sharpening iron, that culture is huge here, because we're all competing. We're all competing with the mindset of, on Saturday, we all kick our feet up and look at the scoreboard and see, what we've all done. It's not we're going to be mad at each other for beating each other. We're all hyping each other up.
Yeah.
which I think is very important. You know,
I think that's so important. I think we all have different styles here. Like Colby's different than Chad, Mason's different than Blaze.
Right.
Let's quickly explain. Like everyone's so different in a sense. Like, Brian, what is your one? Let's all go over. Like, sure, one thing that you think you do differently that someone that helps you get your results. Like, what is like your superpower? For me, I feel personally I can connect with like literally anyone and talk to the wall and get people to open up. But Brian, what would you say your like superpower when it comes to your sales process that really helps you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. Everybody is different with how they approach the script. I think it's a matter of making the script your own, right? Like you said in previous interviews, you can give the script out for free to anyone, but it's not going to work to their advantage because they don't know how to say it, they don't know how to ask the questions, and ultimately, they don't know how to make it their own. Now, as far as me personally, man, I always go back to dance because I'm a dancer, man, and so I look at it from the perspective of like tonality, right? I'm looking to get that emotion. That's my focus there more than anything. And so whenever I'm talking to a client, I keep that in mind, and also just trying to add my swagger into it, if you will, as far as just being me, so that ultimately I can connect with them and be able to actually help them out, right? And so I would say for me, the advantage that I have as far as my approach goes is just kind of relating sales to dance and dance to sales at the end of the day because it has a lot in common whether you think about it or not. So yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Dude, thanks for sharing that. Absolutely. Anybody else want to share what really helped them? Like Blaze, you can talk. You can chat with us. You were like a chef one day, and you had sales was so different. How did you learn how to get the sell 50 policies? What is the one thing? I think I know what it is, but you can share. Like, what do you think the one little thing
Yeah,
that you do?
I've mentioned this before in an interview that we've had, but I don't think that you can teach emotional intelligence. Either you're empathetic or you're not. And for me to be able to recognize and manage and understand other people's feelings and help them understand their feelings, I think that will get you a lot further than someone who just can't manage those types of things. If and emotional intelligence is just something that either you have or you don't, for me. And
what do you think that means for you guys? Like what? Like for example, what does that mean? Emotional intelligence, and like I feel like that's a huge part of like making it all click. Would you guys agree? Like you kind of like start identifying certain things and relating.
Reading the room properly. I mean, being able to
Sure.
read the room properly. I mean, even then, some people don't know how to read the room and can't feel someone out or understand what position they're coming from. So for me, being able to read that immediately, being able to know how to take the client and where to take them in terms of what to ask and how to ask it, that can make or break a sale right there. Sometimes you have the straight shooter who just wants this immediately, and you want to try to give it to him, but in a way that's going to benefit you. But then you also have sweet old Betty who you can take step by step, and so for me, someone else can answer off what I said. But
have that being able to sell differently. Situations come up, guys. You get to understand like that guy John is like that man is just straight to the point. If you start selling him like everyone else, you're gonna feel that. I think a lot of people make that mistake. Gian, I think you made a huge lift from you didn't do 40 last like the following month, but to now doing it. What's something you changed and that someone could change going into this month to help them have better results? What has really worked for you?
Yeah, no, for sure. I wanted to hit 40 this month, so I did work like 2 Sundays, I think. Y'all don't got to be that crazy, but I did come in to do extra activity, right? But the biggest thing for me was, like you were saying, the adaptability. I think previous months I struggled selling men. Like Miss Betty's, anyone could sell Miss Betty. But with the guy, I learned like you have to speed your process up, right? If you're asking the same questions over and over, they're gonna get bored. Like they want things to get rolling. I think that was the biggest thing I was struggling in the past. So I sped up my process to now where they're like, all right, we're doing this now. You know what I mean?
Being able to adapt to those situations where you can you feel confident in every situation. I don't know about you guys. I don't like selling men that much because I'm like, oh damn, I love the ladies.
You made a
It's my
comment.
favorite. I think my first month here, I sold like 70% of my deals were men.
Really?
I don't know what it is. I prefer them.
Crazy.
You
I don't think I
know
sold. I don't think I sold a guy till I was like maybe like 2 months in. I kid you not. I
Really?
kid you not. Yeah.
You made a comment, Peter, about a week or two ago. You said to sell a man, you need to get them to respect you. And that made such a big difference for me. And after you said that, my close rate with men went way up. It's just like,
Yeah,
they
'cause it's
respect you,
more.
dude. and respect
Yeah,
the
with
other phone.
yeah, it's more like a dinner time conversation, with your dad at the dinner table. That's
Right.
how you kind of approach selling a man versus selling a woman. You're real empathetic. You're real, oh, tell me how that feels. Stuff like that. So it's just completely different. I think it's just different
Men are
styles.
definitely the logical sell, man.
Yeah.
Especially like older men's kind of like they have a different code, if you will, than a lot of men today.
Right.
So when you can meet them
Right.
and speak the same language as they're speaking to you, meet them on that level and sell them logically as opposed to emotionally, which really it's kind of the same thing, because when you're selling Miss Betty, she wants to make sure that her daughter's not paying for the cremation. I mean, Mr. Jim, he has the same goal in his mind, but rather than like, oh, how would that make you feel, Mr. Jim? It's more of like, oh, you're man of the house. You want to take care of this for your family. And it's just a different route you have to take. But at the end of the day, it's the same goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being able to kind of navigate the conversation differently. Chad, I want to share something. I had a thought too. I want to share with you guys. One day, I hope we can do this in person, like smoke some cigars. That'd be really cool. By the way.
That'd be
just shoot the crap. That'd be awesome. Chad, you've had really gradual growth, like throughout your process, like 15, 30, I don't know, kind of like always progress. What do you think someone who is struggling to make progress really needs to focus on that will allow them to be able to make progress and kind of get closer to their goals?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just like the little wins, right? It's celebrating the little wins. It's moving, it's progressing, it's getting that 1% better, like you and Micah preach every day. Ultimately, it's just sticking to the process, trusting in the process, not trying to do too much too soon, right? Kind of doing it in baby steps for me is kind of what I've been kind of focused on, like getting the script adherence and really focusing on my tone and then really diving deep into discovery. So really breaking it down one by one, really trying to analyze what I'm trying to accomplish in each part of the script. And then it's a big connection factor too. I think when you come into a room of, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we got a few people that aren't even here that hit 40. When you walk into a room with everyone, it's a little bit daunting, right? I mean, they're so good at what they do, and you kind of come in with a little bit, myself, a little bit of experience, but you're trying to like pull from each person. But I'm not to take this the bad way, but it's like not everybody's flow works for you. So it's trying to kind of figure out what works for you and implementing it. And if it doesn't work, reflecting at the end of the day and saying, what could I have done differently, right? Doing the call review. So I think that has really helped me, is pulling from other individuals and kind of matching my personality a little bit, right? And allowing that to flow naturally, because this needs to be as much of a script, a natural conversation with the client. And so I think that has really helped me gradually grow in this position, to be honest with you. That's kind of why I say.
That's so good. Being able to, because like I feel like there was a lot of times for you, Chad, and for everyone. Like that's why I'm most proud of everyone too, because there's times when this was not easy for any of us. Like, dude, you probably went like 3 days without a sale once, or like Christian, you went a few days. Colby like didn't make sales for a few days. Mason, you probably didn't make sales. Blaze, in the beginning, you probably didn't start. Like everyone here like had to go through some like type of adversity to get here. I think that's why this is something that's to be celebrated, because like in the beginning it sucks and a lot of people quit. What do you think are some things that you guys look at now and be like, oh, heck no, I would never do that in my sales process. I don't know why I did that before, but now it makes no sense. Like bring up some funny things, common things that you think salespeople do that you would never do.
I got one off the top of my head. Oh, man. I was listening to my first, interestingly enough, one of my clients, I think this past week, added some coverage to her existing policy that she had, and I'm looking at the date, and it's dated April 2024. That was like my first week of selling here, right? And so I'm like, oh man, I gotta listen to that call.
Yeah, see, like, definitely
progression, which I actually recommend any one of you guys that have been here for a while to do that. You'd be surprised. I was trying so hard to be Peter, man. I was just not sounding like myself. One thing that I would not recommend to you guys, because I know you guys that are watching this video on YouTube, I know you've listened to his calls. Please don't say gotcha here every 5 seconds. That's Peter's thing. That is not my thing. I don't think it's anybody else's thing, right? But what I mean by that is just like Chad was saying, man, just stick, take the sauce. Everybody has their own sauce. You just got to figure out what your sauce is. Some people are more direct. Blaze is definitely, I think of Blaze whenever I say that. Blaze is more direct than anything. I've heard some of his calls before. He has a very unique approach. I don't think Blaze would sell the same way Peter does, or Christian or anybody else. But I would say me personally, not say gotcha here every 5 seconds just to fill in
Yeah.
words in the conversation.
That's
Yeah.
so good. That's funny. Anybody
Yeah, I
else?
think
What else?
yeah, I think
Absolutely.
I mean sales in general, it's all about being yourself. Like, it boils down to you can go through the script, say the right words, but you have to be yourself. Like the natural salesman is just a charismatic guy that gets out there and tries. And you can just follow the script, but if you're charismatic, if you're not being yourself, my charisma is different from Colby's, different from Mason's, different from Chad's. So finding your own way of doing it, and that just comes through trial and error, listen to yourself back, finding out what works. Yeah.
I think a mistake a lot of people make, not speaking on people here, which I'm sure we make this mistake too, but I feel like a lot of people, something about being on the phone, not being in front of somebody, you forget that it's a real human being. They have their own personality. They have, their own way of doing things. And so you really have to get to the bottom of who they are quickly so you can match them. Kind of how we've been talking this whole conversation, matching people, knowing how to talk to them. You have to, how Blaze said at the beginning of the conversation, have that emotional intelligence because it is a real human being. I mean, they've been through things in life. They expect certain things out of conversations they have. And when you can figure that out, that'll really enable you to open them up. And I mean, once they open up, you have that trust. You're their agent for life. They're gonna trust you.
Something
Yeah.
I'll never
Get
do.
that trust of the connection with the client. That's what I've really been. It's like if you can build that connection early with the client, then you kind of have the trust before even getting into credibility, right? And that's already established. It's very now my job is just to really get the client to talk about what their situation looks like and really painting that picture for them. And then it's kind of a golden way to get in there, and I think it's through that connection that you really develop that sale going.
Mason,
most of these.
Oh, sorry. Cole, I want to touch on that really quick because that's a huge point. What do you guys do to try to build the connection within because that's like within 60 seconds, right? You're trying to get their guard down. You're connecting with them. Do you use is it like a playful tone or is it like something that you're trying to connect with? Like, how would you say you're trying to build trust that people must do in the beginning? Because like the beginning is like when you win them over. So what do you have to do?
Yeah.
I think. Go ahead, Christian.
I was gonna say it's all about the intro is key. How I like to think of my intro is real systematic, so I keep it the same approach for each client. That way, it's complete trial and error. The beginning of the script is what you're going to go through the most because most people are going to get through the beginning and then cut you off or something. High rejection rate. So if you can systematize the intro where every time you say something, it's the same, and if you get this sort of response, oh, you've been here before. If you get this sort of response, you've been here before. So I like to come at it with like a real curious, soft-spoken, hand in hat, gentle, meek, but also, standing on my toes, standing on my, standing on the ground, ready to tell you like, hey, I'm not afraid to talk to you. I'm just trying to figure this out, that real question tone, but not being like soft and passive because they'll hang up on you if they catch that soft and passive tone. You want to be like direct, hand in hat, with still being like real curious, saying the same things every time. So that way, when Miss Betty responds a certain way, I had this same response yesterday and I closed her. So I know exactly kind of where this is going. That's kind of how I feel it out. I don't know if anybody else wants to touch on that.
Yeah, to go on that, I'm very similar. The only thing I do different there is if I get a call that's like a real outlier, like what do you want, or like why you keep calling, I'll say something that's like a total like misdirect or like try to really bring them down right away, like say something ridiculous back to them, like oh my gosh, John, like you doing all right, buddy, like and then like that guard will drop, and then hey, just to confirm, we got your beneficiary here is your daughter. Was that correct? And then they hear their daughter's name, and then that brings them into, oh yeah, I filled that thing out a week ago because I need to make sure my daughter isn't stuck with a bill. And then that is like when you get them.
Yeah,
I think a lot of times in our morning trainings, I've heard this time and time again, is with that specific tone, I agree with both you guys. Christian, I like the way you explained it. It's more of talking to an old friend that you haven't spoken to in years, right? And so if let's, I think Brandy gives a good example of it. If you have someone that you've known for many years, grew up same neighborhood, high school, right, but just life, whatever, you guys went your separate directions, you somehow got a hold of that person. That's the kind of approach that you take it in. Generally speaking, it's like,
Yeah.
hey, Peter, like you're curious. You're not sure if it's Peter on the phone, but you want to get them to be curious, right? And essentially that's the goal there within those first like 10 seconds. And then after that, you do what you got to do as far as taking control of the conversations by, setting the pace as far as I ask the question, you respond to the question, right? And it's crazy to see how throughout the whole progression of how we do things here, the client feels like they're in control the whole time. But in reality, we're the ones that are in control because we know exactly how to lead this conversation where we need it to go to, right?
It's key right there. Yes,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
huge. That's
And you can't.
something that
Go ahead.
yeah, that's you have to realize. Like, I think that's something I even talked about in my last video with Peter's, like that you have to lead the conversation, but the client wants to feel like they're leading. So it's such a not, I don't want to say dangerous game, but you're really walking a tightrope, if you will, because there's a script, of course. I mean, the script is perfect, but the client doesn't want to feel like they're being led through a script. So finding that happy balance of conversational while getting down to business, that's where it'll happen. That's where the magic happens.
Yeah. And I think that comes with the mindset of what the client's about to say before they even say it. But if they know that right there, if they know that you know what they're about to say, they're gonna be, they're gonna get their
Yes.
guard up.
Yes.
But if they think, oh, this guy doesn't know what I know, this guy doesn't think he doesn't know what I'm about to say, then it's just gonna be a normal conversation. So especially in discovery, past the intro, if they know what you're trying to pull out of them, if they know that you're trying to get them to say, I'm going to leave my daughter with the burial expenses. Oh, that's a red flag, and they're going to hate that. And to mitigate that, it's not being that conversation, like Colby said. Just making it a normal conversation, and just can't let them know that you know what they're about to say, because then the train goes off the rails.
You lose all that momentum you built in the call. And
Right.
Peter,
Yeah.
you actually touched base on that, I think last week with the training that you showed us, as far as like anytime that you end a sentence, you always end it in a question. So just that's the rule of thumb. Always end your sentence in a question because that's how you have control of the conversation, right? And then the next thing that you preached on was start your sentences with filler words and end them with filler words too, because then it's going to make the client feel heard. Exactly what Christian's saying. It's one thing for us to know, like he said, we already know for the most part what they're going to say, right? Oh, what I'm not getting any younger. Okay, well that's not enough. We need them to admit that they have a problem. But once we get them to admit that, you have to sound like as if this is the first time you've heard it. Like, oh, I see. Okay, so you're looking to get some coverage to be able to protect XYZ. Is that about right? And so that's exactly what we have to do every single time, no matter what, right? I mean, it's like as if you don't know anything, because we don't like to assume. We're not supposed to assume, because the moment you assume and you say that before they say it, you lost all momentum. And the chances of you closing that client are like slim to none, because they don't feel heard. And ultimately, now they feel like you're in control of the conversation, period.
Yeah, and I think to build off of that, I mean, especially on the intro, I don't think anybody likes to be sold anything. Like, I don't like walking into any place and somebody coming up to me and the first thing they'd say, "Can I help you with anything?" I'm always like, "No, I'm good. Appreciate it." Right. I think it's part of trying from the psychology of a sale is to try to have the client know that they know that they're in a sales, right? But we want them to forget that I'm actually selling them a product, right?
Right.
The best way you can do that is by not having that commission breath, that sales breath, sound like it's just one of those generic car salesmen versus just being a human being, right? And I think when they start forgetting that we're in a sales process and they just start thinking about, the situation that they're in, what they're trying to avoid, what they're trying to do for their families, and really just kind of having that conversation, that's where the connection's built. And I think that's, that can be harder with certain situations, like Blaze said, different individuals with different different personalities, how they come off on tone. And so you have to match that tone. You have to mirror that tone. But ultimately, I think it's trying to let the client or keep the client from remembering that this is a sales process, right? This is more of just a conversation, and we're going to get you what you need. And so I think
to be their decision.
Yeah.
The best salespeople don't come off as salespeople. As you asked Peter earlier, like
Really
what's something you did in the past that you wouldn't do before, and like it was hard for me to even remember because I try to just like, Men in Black, like just black out my memory of everything I learned in the past. But like I used to so cliche, like I would, make statements, not ask questions. I would, all the like just circling back, just wanted to, just all these like cliche statements that you hear. And yeah, just that's something that I would never do again that I used to do all the time in the past was make statements and just sound like a salesperson and
kind of pushing them.
Yeah.
That's so good. What I got from that is like what Chad described, and you guys, it's like the Houdini effect. It's like they don't even know before their eyes. It's like they look up and the money's on their account and they don't know how you got there. And then secondly, it's like that genuine curiosity. You must have that. All of us probably have here. If they feel like you're actually searching to try to help them and you're just like unsure, then they'll keep giving you the information. But if they feel like they're feeling like you're making them feel dumb, they'll get really upset. If someone were to come to you guys and be like, man, I just watched your interview, I'm struggling to do 40,000 in a month. What would you guys either tell them or why do you think, two parts, why do you think most people can't do like the 40,000 production? It's a huge goal. Like, is it a system problem, sales problem? Like, walk us through, like, what do you think the constraint would be?
They don't work at Legacy Family Life.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, guys, I'll take this one.
No,
seriously.
I think that is true. I think it all starts with like the back end, the leads that we are given for completely free, by the way. Ridiculous the quality of leads that we're given. So first off, the leads that we're Mike is generating us and we're getting on a day-to-day basis is amazing. Of course, you can't, you have to be able to take those leads from start to finish. So that's where, our sales ability comes into play. But if you don't have a good system behind you, if you're not generating leads, if you're just buying trash leads, it's going to be really hard to sell 40 policies at an average of 1,000 AP a policy. So the system, I would say, is one of the most important parts. You're just never going to get 40 sales if you don't have that system. And then if someone else,
y'all been around. Oh, sorry, Colby. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, this is another legacy thing, but when I'm working throughout the day and I'm, 250 dials in and I've talked to nobody, and then I can pop in the Zoom and talk to my entire team and we make jokes and it's fun, and then I can go make another 250 dials. Even if it just makes it so much easier. A lot of independent agents, they don't have anybody to talk to. They're in it on their own. And I think in an industry like this, when you face so much rejection and it's you have to put in so much production, you really need that support system, that team that you're competing with the same vision in mind, if you will. Oh man, I would not be able to do this without the team.
I would shout out the team as well. I mean, I can say for a fact that I would not have hit 51 policies this month had it not been for the team as a whole. I mean, of course, Chiefs Keefs, but ultimately everyone pushing each other to be better. I mean, that's something you need. If you're just walking into the office and you feel like every day's monotonous, the guy next to you who's working for the same company doesn't give any care for your success, doesn't help you, doesn't train you. Same thing with your leadership. I would run out the door quick as possible because you are just going to tumble backwards into a spiral. Especially when you're getting chargebacks and you don't know what where you're going wrong in your process. You need to find it, even if it's one person. I mean, I'm gonna shout out Colby and Christian. These two guys came together, and every day, if one of them are feeling off, they push each other, and that's super important. I mean, they're basically business partners. You need to find someone who's in the same career as you, and see how you guys can help each other. If you're in it alone, it's gonna be hard. I mean,
I agree with
true.
Who's
like, I think it's like Chad and Gian, or like you guys are like your bit. Who's like your guys'? Who do you guys partner up with? Like, who's helped you guys this last month? Just curious.
Who's helped me this last month?
Do you find, Chad, you're like more connected with Gian, or is there someone else that you? Because I know you guys are homies, but who was like your battle buddy?
Yeah, I mean, Gian and I, we talk crap to each other back and forth.
Yeah, I like the way you say that, the battle buddy. It's like there's gonna be days where you get beat down to the ground and you're on all fours, just like climbing uphill, and like you got Colby taking Christian like, hey dude, get up off the ground. Like, yeah, you've had 5 presentations. Yeah, you didn't make a sale, but dude, you got this. Like, come on, come with me. Like, and maybe you're doing good for that day. Like, you need that person to be able to pick you up and get you back on your feet. I mean, everyone here knows that sales is difficult. I mean, you're gonna have days where you just get beat up. You did the process perfectly, and then somehow you just still can't get the end result that you're looking for. Those days are going to beat you up mentally, and you need someone there to hold you accountable and be like, hey man, I listened to that call, you did everything perfect, don't beat yourself up too hard. Maybe you could have changed this or that, but ultimately wouldn't have ended in a different result. Just keep going. When you don't have someone there in your corner like that, the only person you can look towards is yourself, and at some point it's going to get too much for you and you're going to wind up leaving, which is what 90% of the people in this career do. So
even on top of that, now rather than just you making a mistake and learning, I have 30 other people that when somebody makes a mistake, I learn from that. So 30 people all making mistakes at the same time, that's 30 less mistakes per one mistake that you're going to be making, just because everybody else is learning, sharing, growing. So you figure out something that's working. That, I mean, Christian closes 5 deals in a day. I'm going to ask Christian, like, hey, what's been working for you? I mean, say, Blaze, he's on an hour and 45-minute phone call. He had 10 different objections to overcome. I'm going to ask him how he overcame those objections. If not, then I'm doing a disservice to myself. It's such a valuable resource that you can't put a price tag on it. I mean, you're not going to find something like this anywhere else. It truly is incredible.
Closed mouths don't get fed. If there's something that you're struggling with and yet you're still not asking out of nerves or just worried about that, you're going to look like the person who doesn't know anything, that's holding you back. Everyone starts somewhere, and that's from square one, but you need to ask questions to be able to go up those levels. So if you're someone who's struggling and you're not asking questions, you're already hurting yourself more than you're helping yourself.
Yeah, and I would say that there's a few things you can really break down what we do really well at Legacy Family Life. One is the culture and having, the resources around you to hear different pitches and different tones and different mirroring and all of that, right? But the other part of it is the fact that we have people that hold us accountable, not just the people on our team, but our managers. Shout out to, Phil over at the platoon over there. But I mean, every single day, he's shouting people out because we have non-negotiables, right? Hit your 250, do your 5 presentations, and you're going to make sales at the end of the day. And there's going to be days that it doesn't work out, just like Blaze said. But you're going to leave. And my biggest thing is when I leave every single day, I just want to know that I didn't leave anything on the table, right? And even if I wasn't as effective in my process, I can take away from that, what did I do different today? Because the previous day I did 3 sales, right? And today I only did 1. So what changed? And so I think having like the accountability, not just from a culture perspective of competing, but having the accountability where we have people around us really pushing us to succeed through holding us accountable to the things that we can control. But then also setting our clear whys. And I think that this month, I mean, just seeing how many people just absolutely killed it this month. It all started with, coming down to what our goals were for the year, what our why was, and everybody here has a different why, but just being reminded of that every single day, I think all 3 of those things really push you to just succeed. And I think that's what's really amazing about Legacy Family Life in general. And I think what growth comes in for a lot of our agents.
Yeah. Well, and kind of tying that in with what Blaze and Chad said, I know I said at the very beginning, like, well, you don't work at Legacy Family Life, it ain't it, right? But no, I mean, I do mean that at the end of the day, because my personal experience with life insurance, I've only been here. This is all I know. I didn't come from another agency or anything like that. So fortunately, I didn't have to, either drop any bad habits that I may have picked up or just having a whole different process in selling. So what I will say for those that are struggling, to kind of go back to that question that you asked there, is you got to choose the right mentor. I said that in my first interview that we had, me and you, Peter, right? And by mentor, I mean, in this case, agency, right? Now, the reason why I'm saying mentor is because whenever I joined this industry, I had seen countless of your videos before even, had the opportunity to work here. Now, granted, I didn't know anything about selling. I didn't know anything about the product, but what I knew was I want to find somebody or a company that has results, right? That actually talks the talk and walks the walk, right? And to me at that time, you were that person, right? I mean, I guess you could say you closed me without even realizing it. And from there, obviously, I actually learned everything that this company has to offer. Everything that
Yeah.
everybody said is 100% true. Those are key things that we need to be, consistently a high producing agent. We need a
Yeah.
good system. We need good leads, consistent lead flow. We need a good CRM. We need accountability partners. We need a good management team who's going to hold us accountable. And all of that entails with having a mentor, and it all starts with having a mentor or a place where you feel like you're going to succeed. So if you're as an independent agent, if you're in a situation where you feel like your IMO isn't supporting you the way that we've described, well, reflect on that. And I mean, it might be time to move, or there might be something that you can work on individually, like your numbers and everything else that everybody said. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Definitely. I think.
I was sorry, Chris, you were saying?
No, I was just gonna say, harping on the beginning of the question, it's like, yes, what would you do if you're a new agent that is trying to hit 40? We've talked about the system. The system's important. If I had to restart and do it all over again, let's say I'm not at Legacy Family Life. Brian mentioned the mentor. Use YouTube as your mentor, specifically Peter's videos. You can get everything you need from Peter's videos. I would make the script. So I would write down the script that you think would work for you, and I would meticulously go through it and say, okay, I'm saying this in the beginning. Why am I saying that? Get your clear why, and then eventually build out the entire script and just start taking these clients through the script.
Yeah.
Taking in
Get down
all
your
the information
process.
from everybody. Yeah, get down your process. So if you can't afford like the system in the background, at least do what you can do, and you can scour the internet to find out exactly what is the best script. And that's what I would do if I didn't have it. I would find the best script, find out exactly why I'm saying what I'm saying, and get start to finish, write it all down
Yeah.
so you have a clear understanding of it, and then use YouTube videos and stuff as your mentor. That's what I would do.
Which,
yeah,
there's a lot of good stuff, guys. There. I mean, it's accountability. Every one of you guys are here for like you're all really coachable. Like you all just heard, like getting better. Even though you've hit your results, you're always like, how can I get better? How can I improve? I do want to share personally, like, dude, I struggle with what you guys struggle with on the business side of things. There's really, really tough days. There's really great days. There's days when I feel like I'm selling 5 policies in a day. And there's days where I wake up, I'm like, dude, this is like, it's hard. And I have to go to my battle buddy. I have to go to Micah. I have to like rely on the leadership team. So I think that's so crucial as you grow and as you develop. It's like, man, I couldn't have built this on my own, like with the amount of stress and struggles and wins and losses. It's a huge battle. So having that teammate there is so crucial. And I appreciate you guys illuminating that. There's this theory that I want to break. This kind of pisses me off. And I want to share with you guys this. People that fail the industry go right into selling leads because they sell the dream. They don't make the money selling life insurance. So they're like, just buy my leads or buy my lead course and your life will be changed. And I promise you, you'll make money. Okay. What do you guys believe that the lead would be the only thing? And maybe you guys been there, would be the only thing that would fix your problem. And if so, yes.
Absolutely not.
And if
No.
so, no.
No,
Why?
you could have the best leads in the
What
world.
would you
if
tell
don't have a good
someone
person.
like what would you tell someone? Because I'm like, dude, people come to me like, I'm not going to work with you guys. I'm going to buy this $3,000 course
Yeah.
and all my problems are going to be fixed. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want them to work with us. I'm just saying, like, financially, it's a huge investment people are willing to make. They think the leads are the ticket. What would you guys say?
Dude, if their leads
can
are
have
so
all the-
good, why are they selling them and not using them themselves?
You can have all the ingredients
That's
for
what
a
I'm saying.
cake. If you don't know how to put the cake together, you're not going to go anywhere. You can sell ingredients all day long, but if you want to make the cake, all you have to do is put some time in. You have to learn the sales process and actually put the time in. Don't just take the easy road out. Exactly what was just said. Put the time in. Ask yourself why. If you're failing, it's nobody's fault but your own. Figure out why you're failing, and you sit down, look yourself in the mirror, and figure that out.
And I mean, even on top of that, like good leads, bad leads. What? It's a good lead because they answered, within 3 days rather than within a week, whatever your standards are for leads. Like the leads aren't the problem. You know what I mean? Like you give up, like the team we have with the systems we have, we can sell any leads. I don't care how quote unquote hot they are as a lead.
Yeah.
It's because we have great systems. We have great support, all the things we've been talking about this whole meeting. Yeah, the leads, that's like a of course, leads are very important, and it makes our job and our life so much easier having good leads. But at the end of the day, we get 10 new good leads a day. We're still working through the leads that are 2 weeks old, 3 weeks old that have already been called a bunch, and we're still selling them. Doesn't matter about the leads.
What is a bad lead in your guys' eye? Like, who actually is called like dirt leads or like have paid for dirt leads? Like, has anybody ever like had like a terrible lead? Like, I know what that looks like. That's like a 3-month.
Yeah.
Yes,
Bad lead is someone
it's
who's
actually like a 2-year lead, but like, what else?
Yeah.
Like
that was a big shift in my business. Yeah.
Guy that works for like an electrician who is in a union, and he filled out a piece of paper like 2 years ago, and he's probably been called like 250 times over the course of 2 years. That would be a bad.
I think lead quality comes with speed. So speed to lead is key.
Yeah.
So if you can have, a good lead is someone who hasn't been contacted by every other IMO, every other agency in the book. It's kind of someone fresh who you want to get the person, age range, whatever, find the demographic, and then you want to find them as soon as they go, hey, I might need some life insurance. That's when you want to get them. You don't want somebody who thought themselves, oh, I might need some life insurance 2 years ago, and then everybody's called them. No, you want that person fresh, and if you get somebody fresh, that's when you can sell yourself. And if they're in the moment, you can sell yourself. I'm going to be your agent for life. I'm going to take care of you. If you ever want to increase down the line, we can always do that. And you sell yourself with someone who's fresh, looking for life insurance. That's where the deal is made, I think.
Gotcha. That's good. It's easier to sell a gym membership on January 1 than like October 3rd. It's just like the pain is. It makes a lot of sense.
At the end of the day, I think the grass is green wherever you water it. It's never green on the other side, right? You make with what you got. And so, I think, man, I forgot the actual term that Micah, he said it many times in morning meetings, where people just in general have this vicious cycle of seeing a new opportunity come, whether it's a job, whether it's, like you said, maybe getting their health in check. They're excited. They go through it. They realize it sucks. And then once they go through that valley of despair, 90% of people end up stopping whatever they're doing and going to a new opportunity. And it just continues and continues and continues and continues. And so when we're talking about someone who, who's in that kind of position, I would definitely do some deep reflection, because it always comes down to a lack of skill set, whether you want to accept it or not. Because we've had situations here where agents have had, whether it's a new agent, let's say, that just started here, maybe got a lead that's older, and then that lead got passed to someone else because it hasn't been touched for however long. And then it's more of a seasoned agent here. Well, you can have that same lead and end up getting 2 different results, right? And so what that shows right there is it was not about the lead at that point. It was about the agent, her, himself, and the result that they got based on their skill set, right? And I truly believe that, because I know you've preached that many times, but it's one thing for you to say that, and then as an agent, it's one thing for you to actually experience that on your own. And once you actually see that for what it is, then it's like it lights a fire under your butt. And I feel like everybody in this room can agree that, it's a consistent reflection process. And I think we're all the same as far as like, we want to get better, because come next month, which is already here, we want to be at the top again. And so it's like, what are we going to do? Well, this is exactly what we're doing. So I think the grass ultimately is greener where you walk.
One thing.
Yeah, there's that. Oh, sorry, Mason.
Yeah, it was just had me thinking. Like, I think very often we overestimate what we can do in a day or a week, and really underestimate what we can do in like a quarter or a month or a year. And like 3 months ago, I don't know if I made any sales in November at the other agency. And fast forward 3 months, since like 40 sales. And like context of the big picture and what you're trying to do day in, day out.
Yeah.
Adding up those days really makes a big difference.
That's so huge. What can be done? I think that's a big thing. Sure, you guys all have that. It's like, man, you don't make a sale, but you have the rest of the month. Like, you're still thinking long term. I was going to go down the valley of despair. Some of us here have been really in tough times, difficulties, but I'm going to go a different route. When it comes to like closing techniques, what are any like go-to sales? Any techniques that you focused on that last month that like really helped you, that you did differently? Like, was it overcoming a specific objection, or preventing specific objections, or getting comfortable with like underwriting? Like, what specific part of your sales strategy do you think you really had locked in that allowed it to produce this result? Anybody?
I think just doing a good job through the entire process with your credibility and discovering exactly how you can meet their need, that will take care of most of the objections before one has the opportunity to pop up. Of course, you're going to get the, oh, I need to talk to my husband, wife, whatever it is. But as far as like credibility and if this is actually what they need, you can take care of most of those objections just by being thorough and getting to know your client.
Yeah. I think there's two main objections that you can get whenever you're getting into the application. One of them is like the social objection, and the other one's the banking objection. To overcome those, we can start with the social. The social is all about credibility. So if they don't think you're a true salesman, you know, and that's kind of like where you find that balance of finding like getting on their side, being their friend, you know, throwing the rocks with them, not at them, but also being a professional so that they trust you enough to, you know, give you your social and banking. Um, a little technique I like to use for banking. I mean, it's right in the script. I kind of added it on, but I'll kind of spill the sauce of what exactly I do. I kind of make sure that they have a bank account before we go into it because you don't really want to sell that direct express. And to do that, my technique is, hey, just before we get into the application, I just want to make sure, you know, the company that I want to put you with actually requires a routing and account number. Whenever they hear that, they're kind of like, what, routing and account number? I don't want to give that away. So then I go, do you have like an active checking or savings account? And they're usually like, yeah, and I go, oh, no, don't worry. I don't need any of that right now. Not until we actually get into the application. That calms their nerves. But that's an easy way of me knowing that they have a bank account, and then they also hear routing and account number. And so while they don't want to give it to me right off the bat, once I take them through the rest of that process, they're already thinking in their head, oh, I'm going to need to give out routing and account number. So by the time we get there, they've already pulled out their checkbook and they're ready to read it out loud. I'd say that's one way of overcoming that banking objection that I've used.
That's moving into the app that you do that, or like in that part of the
So
script?
I actually do that right before I explain what we're actually getting into. So right before I'll go into it. I'll say, hey, I just want to make sure before we get into the application, you know, like I just said, and then right after I leave their worries and I say, don't worry, I don't need anything right now. You'd just be surprised how many times I get into the application and then my clients tell me, oh, Christian, I actually don't have a bank account. And then we got to restart and go all the way to the end. But okay, as long as I know you have a bank account, we'll be good. Now, what we're going to be looking at here is whole life insurance. And you kind of let me know if this is exactly what you're looking
Interesting.
for. That's the part where I
right
go into it.
Do you think that helps you make more sales? We could all probably steal that. That's really cool. Like, because you're almost assuming the sale right there. They're like already
Right.
pre-committing.
Exactly. You're putting into their subconscious mind that I'm going to have to give them the routing and account number at the end of the application because I make sure I even wrote it down. I want to make sure before we get into the application. Whenever they hear that, they might not hear it at face value, but their subconscious mind is working right there. And they're like, okay, we're going to get into an application. Yeah, exactly. So if I can point that out in a way that it's kind of risky doing that. You know, the normal script is like, you know, these companies give you a 10% discount. I just want to make sure I'm putting you in the best position. But if you can say it the way I said it with kind of getting them like on their heels and then all of a sudden you're with them throwing rocks at the other side, it's a little bit risky because they could hang up on you whenever they hear, oh, this guy wants my routing and account number, I'm out of here. Or they could hear you out and you alleviate their worries and you're even on their side even more, going, don't worry, I'm right there with you. I'm thinking about you. I don't need that routing and account number. You would just be surprised. And then how many times I get into the application, they know, oh, this guy's done this before. And it also in their subconscious mind, they're thinking, oh, we're going to get into the application. I'm going to have to give this guy my routing and account number. It kind of sets expectations in a way that's alleviating. I don't know. I love using that technique.
Do you get people that are like, oh, no, I'm not doing that, and they hang up?
At the beginning, whenever I first started saying that and I was trying to perfect the word track, it would happen. Nowadays, I don't remember the last time that's happened just because of the way I can phrase it leading into that.
It's really good.
Like it's,
we
can harp on.
I would, for me, I'm sorry, Peter, go ahead.
Cool. No, you're good.
What I was going to say is one of the techniques that I use, generally speaking, because it's just muscle memory at this point. You don't really realize it's a technique, but whenever you're in discovery, whatever discovery looks like for you guys that are listening to this, if the client gives you any kind of pain, and what I mean by pain is someone passed away recently, that's money, that's gold, right? That is very valuable. Now, I don't care if they say that in the pain portion, hopefully they do, or if they say it later down the road, you need to drop everything that you're doing at that point and focus on that pain, right? Now, if it's in the pain portion, the technique that I like to approach is acknowledge that 100%. Ask how the client's doing, right? Now, obviously, if it's Miss Betty, you ask it a little different than Mr. Joe, like we talked about earlier. But ultimately, ask about that. Bring the pain up because that's most likely the reason why they filled this out to begin with, most of the times. And even if it happened a while ago, it's still in relevance as to why they're looking for this product to begin with. Why? Because they want to protect their loved ones. And so you bring it up, right? Oh my gosh, Mr. Peter, I'm so sorry to hear that. How have you been doing since then? That's the first question that I ask generally. The next question I like to ask is, now I don't mean to trigger your memory here, Peter, but did so and so have some life insurance when they passed away? Oh no, they did. Or they did or they didn't. Or even if they did, okay, the next thing I say is, okay, well that's good. I mean, what did that look like for you guys? Oh well, we were able to cover the funeral. Okay, well you obviously see the value of having life insurance. If they do not have insurance or they didn't, then oh my gosh, what did you guys have to do? I asked the same question. What did that look like? Oh my gosh, well we had to do a GoFundMe. We had to do XYZ. Wow. Oh wow. So you guys ended up having to do all that. Well, I'm so sorry to hear that, Mr. Peter. I'm definitely going to do my best for you here. My condolences. And now the next thing that I do, now that that pain is so fresh in their mind, I take that pain and relevance to their current situation. So the next question that I ask is, now, Peter, I mean, since you, and if they don't have insurance in this situation, if you don't have anything in place, God forbid you passed away, who would be the person kind of responsible to have to pay for your funeral expenses? So that right there just flows. It flows into their situation where they're at now. And then even if it's a guy at that point, chances are they're going to probably open up to me a lot more had I not taken my time in that portion that they gave me the opportunity to actually build rapport with them, acknowledge that, this is something that they went through, and ultimately tie this into their current problem. And so that's one of the techniques that I use a lot whenever that happens, every single time.
Really good. Brings death to the forefront, and they can see the impact. That's awesome. Cool, guys. Well, I'm gonna wrap us up here. If anybody else, anything else you guys want to add, anything that was missed that you think could bring value to each other, anything else you guys want to add in here?
Yeah, I got something. If you're struggling figuring out what direction to take it, just say a prayer. It's the best advice I could give. Whether you believe or not, just try it.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, say a prayer, open up, ask for, the Bible says, ask and you shall receive. And if you never ask, you will never receive. So just, say a prayer, put your ego aside, see what happens, talk to the Lord.
I love that. Well, thanks for sharing that, guys. I think that's so important. Mason, you did an incredible job. Christian, incredible job this month. Colby, Gian, Brian, Blaze, Chad. We also had Jess. We had Kyle. I just want to say, y'all are incredible. This is really hard to achieve, and just really proud of all your guys' growth. And just ultimately just doing the work every single day. Like people see it and they don't realize that it took a lot of work. So y'all should be really proud of yourself on how much you committed in. Secondly, thanks for being a part of the team.